Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm ACated and this is my build. So in today's video I will be building a Oasis Springs Suburban House, specifically because I have a family of Sims that need a house and this is that house. So I decided to film it and that's what we're doing today. Recently I've been making a lot of fall builds, and if you watched my last video you would know that I did talk about that a little bit, and I am going to be making less seasonal themed builds just because if I just keep making seasonal builds, then I'll have no time to make normal builds, which is this build, because this build is not dictated to any season. You can use it in any season you would like. And yeah, so it's just a normal suburban house in Oasis Springs. I was trying to make it a lot more mid-century, but it ended up being more generic suburban, a little bit more contemporary. But I was initially trying to be mid-century since the rest of the houses around it are mid-century. But I think I might just redo all the houses anyways, since I kind of want to do that. I was going to do that anyways, so I'll probably make them a little bit less mid-century just because I'm not too fond of that style, especially for this place. I feel like it works, it makes sense. There are actual mid-century homes in places like this, but I didn't really like it. I don't really like it that much, so I'm going to make it a little bit more contemporary, a little bit more suburban style, which I like a little bit better. If you watched my last video, you would know that this house I made literally right after the previous one, which I actually did. I made it literally the same day, and I'm glad I did actually because this only took an hour to build, or no, it took more like an hour and a half maybe, but regardless, it didn't take as long as the first build, so I was able to get a build out so then I could make a video about it, and then I could post it right after that one, although right after is saying a little bit much just because it's not right after, but it's right after relative to the rest of my posting schedule, just because before right after meant in 2 weeks. Now it means 3 days. Hopefully I can keep that up. I don't know how realistic that'll be, but we'll see what happens. At most you'll probably have to wait another week, but I'll probably be able to keep posting videos more regularly right now, at least for right now. I'll say when it might slow down a little bit again. It'll probably be around the start of the school year, so that'll be, I think, in January, in February. Around then it might slow down a little bit, but hopefully you're watching my videos, hopefully you enjoy them. If you do and you're not subscribed, make sure to do that. And of course I'll remind you at the end of the video, like I always do, and I always say this in the middle, it's like, oh, make sure to like and subscribe. Anyways, so right here I'm doing a lot of desert scenery, like landscaping, just because I thought that a big lawn, as fine as a big lawn is, I feel like it looks very boring, at least in The Sims it does, just because there's not a lot going on. Your Sims aren't really going to use it unless you put stuff there. So I put a little bit of desert landscaping there. Plus it makes more sense. Like, you should have desert landscaping in a desert environment. Otherwise you're using too much water. Too much water that you don't have. So it's good to have some more natural landscaping that is for the environment that it's in, that goes well in the environment. So yeah, that's what I did. Lots of succulents, lots of agave and aloe vera. Lots of rocks too. I think it looks good. I did this little planter thing. I think I put trees in it. I'm not entirely sure how I feel about it. I feel like it looks a bit weird and out of place, but I thought it just needed a little bit more landscaping, so it probably looks fine. And I think at the end of the build, I think I come around to liking it. And also at the end of the build, I think this build turns out pretty good. Right now it looks pretty good, at least the outside, since the inside isn't done. But I like how the outside looks. Hopefully you like it too. Even though this house is specifically being made for one of my Sims, or I guess one of my Sims families, it's not specifically tailored that much. I mean, you could say it's tailored, but I feel like it's pretty usable for any sort of Sims. So the house itself is already designed with 2 bedrooms, and there's basically the parents' bedroom, and then there's the daughter's bedroom. So they have a young adult daughter, but it could also be a teen daughter's room too. I feel like it looks pretty much like you can use it for either age. Or you can also just completely redo that room and have it so that it's a completely different child, which is fine. You could take this house if you would like, and you could do whatever you want with it. This is just how I'm doing it since I have a very specific need for it. But yeah, and I hope you do enjoy it if you choose to download it. The inside is pretty contemporary. There are a few things that point to heritage, since I think these Sims, I'm imagining that they're from Ciudad Enamorada, and they're probably Hispanic, so that's why I chose to add a little bit more like cultural heritage objects, even though it is contemporary, just to mix things up a little bit. And I think it's interesting, and I think it makes it more unique. Also, I don't want to mispronounce Ciudad Enamorada because I don't know if my pronunciation's good. I know it might sound pretentious to try to pronounce it in a Spanish way, just because most people would just call it Ciudad Enamorada. But maybe, I don't know. We'll see. I quite like how I decorated the interior of the house. I think it looks pretty unique. I try not to do the same thing with every build. I try to spice things up a little bit, make things a little bit more interesting, a little bit different from how I usually build. I'm using a lot more modern furniture. I don't tend to use a lot of modern furniture just because I don't tend to make a lot of modern builds. This one, I wouldn't say it's more modern. It's more contemporary, more suburban style, but I like it. I think it fits in well. Also, before I forget to mention, I did not limit myself to certain packs with this build, just because I'm using it for myself. Although I do want other people to download it. It makes me happy when other people use my builds, but I did not limit packs. Usually I'll limit packs if I'm not specifically using a build for myself, so I might use some of my builds for myself, but if I'm building it with the intention of not using it, or at least if I'm just building it just because I want to build it, I'll probably try to limit packs just so then more people can download it. At least I try to. But for this one, I did not limit myself to certain packs, and yeah, so there might be a lot of packs used, but hopefully it's fine. It's probably going to be a lot of base game stuff, of course, and then probably a few things from a ton of packs, so like one or two things from one pack, and then a few things from another pack, and so on, and all that stuff. I don't know. If you download a lot of builds, you probably get it, because not a lot of people limit packs, or at least I see a lot more of just tons of packs builds, but I don't know. It is hard to have all the packs because they're so expensive and there's just so many of them, and then especially because there's kits now, like it's almost impossible unless you're like if you want to get all the packs, like if you're a collector of all the packs, or if you're a YouTuber and you do that because you're like, oh, I'm a YouTuber, I should have all the packs and then I can build with them, or whatever. Also, if you didn't notice, I just added a little chicken on that little coffee table right there. Is it a coffee table? Might be more of like an end table. Regardless, I added a little chicken there. I think it's cute. It's kind of random. I just picked it up and put it down, and I decided not to move it. And yeah, so I just left it in. I think it's pretty interesting. Sometimes I just try to add some random elements to my Sims builds. Like, I just try to add a little pop of color or some random object that doesn't quite make sense, but it's there. And I feel like that makes things a little bit more interesting. Especially when I have a sort of thing where I try to make colors not match on purpose, like with intention, because sometimes they don't match, and then it doesn't look good. But then I try to make them not match in a good way. I try to make them not match with intention. So sometimes I try to do that. Like I think in my last video, I did that a lot in my build. This one, not as much, just because everything's very neutral anyways, so everything kind of blends in with each other. That's how neutral colors kind of work. So this one not as much, but I did try a little bit, just example being that little chicken. It's kind of out of place. Anyways, here's the kitchen. It's pretty kitcheny. It's very white. I did add a little tile backsplash just because I think it looks cool, and also it adds to the little cultural elements, which I quite like. Yeah, so that's the kitchen. It's a very normal kitchen. I didn't really add that much stuff to it. I think I added some clutter. I'm not sure which clutter I added, but I think I added some clutter. I always try to leave like a few counters open, at least two, maybe one, but at least two. I try to keep two open just so then your Sims can use it. I don't cook enough in The Sims to know exactly how that works, but I know you need to have like a few counters open, at least one counter open, I think. Here's the main bedroom now. I tried to add really open windows just because it's Oasis Springs. You'd want to have lots of sun in the rooms and stuff. So large windows, even though I feel like that's kind of weird. Also, I feel like you'd have a lot of blinds to it, but there aren't really good blinds in The Sims, or at least I don't think there are. So I didn't really add blinds, but I imagine there are blinds so you could shut the windows if you really need to. I think I ended up adding curtains to some windows, so don't worry about that, but I would prefer to do blinds. I feel like that makes more sense. I also added carpet into the bedrooms, just because I think it's more interesting than just having the same wood. Also, I feel like it makes sense to have bedrooms have carpet. I'm trying to imagine this house it's not too old, but I imagine this house isn't the newest house, so they might have some older things in it, like carpet on the floors, which I feel like is not a thing people do as much anymore. Personally, I do not like floor carpet, like the carpet as floors. I think it's kind of gross, but I'm not the one who is living in this house, and I feel like sometimes you add elements that you personally wouldn't like, but you think are interesting, and I think it's interesting. So I add that into this house. Also, these new paintings that come with the base game, they just showed up right now. I think they're pretty cool. I really like them. I like how unique they are. They're very different from things that we have already. They add a lot of cool touches to it, so yeah, I added that in. I think it's cool. Anyway, so here's the daughter room. Is it the daughter room or the daughter's room? I guess it's the daughter's room because the room belongs to the daughter. But I guess it could be the daughter room because it's the room themed around the daughter. Anyways, so this is the daughter's room. She's supposed to be a young adult, but you could also probably have this be a teenager's bedroom. Imagining she's probably like, she was just a teenager and then she just aged up to young adult. So then a lot of these things might be things from when she was a teenager. Because I also imagine that she might move out soon. Because in my Sims story, she has a boyfriend and she's probably going to move out with him. So that's the whole thing with that story. But yeah, she still has her room here, of course, because she grew up here, and she has lots of things and lots of objects and stuff. I'm trying to make it very aesthetic, very nice, very cute, although still have some unique elements. Like some of the posters, you wouldn't quite think that would belong in like a cute bedroom, but I think they would belong just because people aren't predictable, and I'm trying to make this unpredictable. She has a makeup counter, which I also imagine might be kind of like a desk, although I don't think you can use computers or laptops or stuff on the makeup vanity, but that's a makeup vanity, so you can do your makeup and stuff. I added just a few cool elements and stuff to the room, trying to make it very unique, feel like it's lived in. I feel like with a lot of the parents' bedrooms, they don't look very unique. They usually look very bland. They look like nobody's moved in there. Sometimes I feel like they look a little unique, but mostly for the most part, I feel like they look a little bit more bland, at least compared to their children's bedrooms, which are usually a lot more lively, a lot more unique, at least in my opinion. I mean, it would make sense, though, why the parents' bedroom would look bland, since the rest of the house would look like the parents' bedroom, because the parents are the ones decorating both their bedroom and the rest of the house. So it would look very similar to that, I think. But then the children's bedrooms look completely different, because that's like someone else is completely decorating that entire space, which is their space, completely differently from the rest of the house. So I think that's probably why it adds to why it looks kind of the same. It looks very samey just because the parents are in charge of everything. Anyways, right now I'm just adding a lot more clutter, lots of finishing touches, although I'm not finished yet just because I have to do the backyard still. But I'm adding lots of clutter around, using the clutter kits, which I actually find quite useful. As much as I don't like kits, I find some of I find some of the kits pretty useful. I just wish they weren't kits, but not that kits are necessarily bad, at least the content within them is necessarily bad. I just don't like how it's delivered. Also, I forgot to mention, but this house is one story, and I feel like I haven't really been making any one-story builds. Maybe I have, I don't really remember, but I haven't made a lot of one-story builds. Oh, you know what I did? I did make that spring cottage that was one story, but that was a very small little cottage, just supposed to be a suburban house. I was contemplating making this 2 stories, but I decided just to do 1 story just because it's very simplistic, and a lot of suburban houses are just 1 story. So that's what this is, and I think it's interesting because usually I have stairs and stuff and have multiple stories, but I tried to branch out a little bit, make it 1 story, make it more simple, but I like how it turns out. Anyways, I think about now we should be moving on to the outside, at least the backyard. I already did the front yard, but we're going to move on to the backyard pretty soon. Right now I'm adding a laptop. I'm imagining that's the daughter's laptop. Anyways, backyard, adding some landscaping around. I added a pool because it's Oasis Springs. Of course, you should have a pool if you're in Oasis Springs. They didn't come with pools. None of the houses came with pools just because pools didn't exist when Oasis Springs was made. But when they did like the townie refreshes and then they did like the rebuild, they rebuilt some of the houses, they added pools in like every house. So it's like, yeah, I think it's implied. Also, there's a lot of spaces in some of the pre-made builds that I feel like a pool would be situated for, or at least it's implied that there would be a pool there. I'm also probably going to build a pool for Oasis Springs, just because it just seems so fitting. If any world would have a pool, it would be Oasis Springs. I mean, I guess it would be Windenburg because that is the world that came with the pool, but I think it would be Oasis Springs. It just makes sense, and I hope I don't have to explain that. In the backyard, I'm just adding some normal backyard activities. There's a grill, there's some tables and chairs, there's a pool, there's some pool chairs, there's a little bit of gardening, flower pots, not flower pots, but planter pots. Yeah, just very normal things. And then I added a fence around the entire thing, just because that makes sense. Anyways, we're now reaching the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. I hope you consider commenting, liking, subscribing, doing all those fun YouTube things. The gallery ID will be in the description as always, and I hope you enjoy this build if you choose to download. Make sure to let me know if you prefer montages or showcases as I've been doing before. Regardless, I hope to see you in another video, and thank you for watching. Please enjoy the montage. Goodbye!